The relative isolation of Pacific Island nations helped them to escape the first 14 months of the pandemic. But more contagious COVID variants and apparent flaws in quarantine have now put Fiji in the firing line.
Tonight, COVID-19 cases continues to increase.
If you feel sick, stay home and isolate.
We were shocked. We were very shocked. Fiji was, was containing the pandemic very well, but all of a sudden this came in.
The congregation of the Fijian Uniting Church in Brisbane is waiting anxiously to hear news from their families across the Pacific.
It's been a bit hard. We haven't been able to go over there, and the family here is finding it really hard because we haven't seen each other for a long time.
Really sorry that Fiji has come this path. We never thought it was going to hit Fiji this bad, and it is a learning curve.
Since April, Fiji has recorded more than 4,000 COVID cases, with a daily average of nearly 270 new cases over the past week. Health authorities have been preparing for the situation to get worse.
We have escalated a lot of our support programs. I guess our only issue is that every time we have, most of our cases have been happening in crowded spaces that are fairly contained.
These cases are in the Fijian capital of Suva, in areas known as informal settlements.
They're relatively crowded housing, and so when people get diagnosed with COVID, it's very difficult for them to isolate at home, so they need to be moved out into a suitable facility.
Dr. Brian Spain heads an 8-member Australian and New Zealand medical team, which has just come out of Fijian quarantine. And from the projections at the moment, it seems like the COVID numbers are going to get worse before they get better. Is that a fair description?
I think that's likely. I mean, they're hovering around between 200 and 300 a day. I think our concerns are what proportion of those are going to become severely ill.
And those fears are being realised, with the Fijian Health Ministry this week acknowledging a notable increase in COVID patients with severe symptoms. But on the upside, nearly half the population of just under 1 million have received at least one vaccination jab. Nearly 8% are fully vaccinated.
They're really working very hard ahead of the game to get vaccination to the outer islands in particular now where there is no COVID, to try and get that time for that vaccine to have some protective effect.
So far there's been 19 official COVID deaths since April. But also of concern for many are growing signs of social unrest and even public protests. That's quite unusual in Fiji,
It's unusual. It's unusual. This is very strange for Fiji.
Poverty has struck Fiji. There's no two way about it. People losing their incomes, they're staying home more, and also the stress of unpaid bills. The rents have not been paid. People cannot afford the life they used to have.
And it's the social effects of the pandemic as much as the danger to public health that concerns many in the Fijian community in Australia. Kimberly Bond is worried about her family. What are your family in Suva saying to you about life?
It's hard. It's hard everywhere though, so I think they find it 10 times harder. And I know that the family here is always helping them out.
Fiji is not fighting this alone and has been preparing for the possibility of a COVID outbreak. But health authorities are bracing themselves for more bad news in the coming weeks.
You certainly have to be guarded, and everyone's working really long hours, 7 days a week, but I'm hopeful that all of that will make a difference.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.